If you're watching this video, you're going to learn three big things. Number one, Bitcoin is like emailing money.
Number two, I have Bitcoin, so what can I do with it now?
Number three, Bitcoin life insurance.
So today's guest is Jason from Meanwhile, where one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin.
Holler. If you're brand new to Bitcoin, come on inside the world's biggest Bitcoin welcome center for today's show. Welcome to Satchats, the Bitcoin podcast where we chat about sats. Sats are the smallest part of a Bitcoin, the same way pennies are the smallest part of a dollar. With Satchats, we are building the world's biggest Bitcoin welcome center to serve as your gateway to generational wealth. So if you are brand new to Bitcoin, we want to chat about sats with you. Head to satchats.com to grab your slot in the studio today. I'm your host, Stuart.
And I'm your co-host, Anna Bevan. And with us today in the studio is 161 Jason.
With us in the studio is Jason.
Words.
And he's our first guest of the new year.
I know. This is so
Right?
exciting. Of recording in the new year.
Not to date ourselves. We're trying to keep it evergreen over here, folks. But technically, allegedly,
Yes.
Jason is up first.
Correct.
So, Jason, welcome to Sat Chats. Tell us exactly what it was like for you to be a brand new Bitcoiner. Tell us the first moment you bought some Bitcoin.
Sure. Well, it's great to be here. Happy New Year to you both. I first discovered Bitcoin in 2013. I was on traditional Wall Street at TD Securities, a bank selling U.S. rates products to hedge funds and other traders. And I had a bunch of hedge fund clients, some of whom were very smart. And one of the really smart clients, I was talking to him at 7 a.m. We get in early every morning, having a call with him at 7 a.m. one day. And this is now, I'm going to say September 2013. And he told me I was at this cocktail hour last night and I was the dumbest guy in the room. And that immediately caught my attention because this guy is brilliant. And I said, how is that possible? Tell me more. He's like, well, everyone was talking about this thing, Bitcoin. And I didn't know what it was. But I left after 45 minutes with this feeling that whatever it was about to be introduced to Wall Street, and therefore it was probably going to go up. And if you're interested, look into it, because I can't explain to you what it is. I haven't wrapped my head around it yet. So I'm interested. I start Googling in my spare time. I start reading everything I can possibly find. And mind you, this is 2013. There's not a lot. But ultimately, the light bulb went off for me after a few weeks, maybe a month, reading the white paper and anything else I could get my hands on. And the light bulb moment for me was, oh my God, this is like attaching money to an email. Whereas email can go around the world instantly, 24/7 for free. You can type notes in it. You can attach photos to it. You can attach videos to it. You can hyperlink in it. Well, now you can attach money to it instantly, 24/7 around the world. And I said, well, that makes sense. And in the moment of, Vimeo and Gangnam Style, whatever, things go viral really quickly. Well, this idea of digital money, maybe it goes viral really quickly and it catches on. So I immediately, I was in New York City at the time, I looked for how do you buy this Bitcoin thing? I found Coinbase. And I started buying Bitcoin October 2013 at $330 a coin. And then somehow...
Hang on, Jason.
Wow.
Hang on, Jason. Okay.
I'm not giving you my location. I'm not giving you my address. No one's finding me.
Hey, we're a privacy-forward podcast, okay? All I need to do real quick is just have a moment of silence for Bitcoin at $330, okay?
Wow.
Let's just take a moment of silence to use however you wish.
We're never seeing that price again.
All right, so $330 a pop on Coinbase, which must have been a pretty different experience from what it's like to use Coinbase these days, right?
Yeah.
I mean, was it more rudimentary?
Bitcoin only. It was very rudimentary, and it was. What strikes me, by the way, and by the way, I've been full-time in crypto ever since. What strikes me as so fascinating, and I cannot remember for the life of me why, I knew to get a wallet because you don't keep your Bitcoin on exchange back then. So I found BitGo,
Oh, wow.
and I would buy on Coinbase, send it to BitGo, buy on Coinbase, send it to BitGo. I can't quite come up with how I knew or why I knew or what instinct told me don't leave your Bitcoin here. Maybe it was the fact that what I understood in those aha moments back early on was the fact that Bitcoin is the invention of Bitcoin is the ability to self-custody your own assets, which happen to be digital. Because if you think about it, the only things that you truly own in life are what's in your pocket, or maybe what's in a safe in your house if you own the house, that you have the combination to. Because everything in an account, in a bank account, in a checking account, in a brokerage account, in a, name it, it's not yours. It's somebody else's. You have access to it, but they can throttle your access. They can censor your access. They can turn off your access. I mean, we could go in so many directions, and we'll probably get to the Canadian truckers, the COVID protests, where peaceful protesters had their bank accounts and credit cards frozen because they were peacefully protesting these draconian laws in a Western democracy, Canada. And it made me realize that you need to own things yourself.
Yeah. Do you think that some deeper part of yourself, I don't know, almost like has a general awareness of the fact that unlike earlier ages where you might have truly owned things, we live in a world where you just really kind of don't. You just really kind of don't own. Like, do you think that, like, even in that moment early on in 2013, you're like, hey, this is something I can literally control if I take the right steps. And that's different from most of what's happening in my life.
That is the invention, the core invention of it is you own it, and you should be owning things. And why? Well, it's obvious. Bitcoin, the white paper was released in 2008. The first block was mined in January 2009. What happened in 2007 and 8 to lead to the invention of Bitcoin? Clearly, the great financial crisis. And if you remember, Greece, checking accounts. You're an innocent tax-paying citizen in Greece, and one day you wake up and your checking accounts are frozen, the banks are closed, you can't get money out. And then after a few days or a week, what do you see? A haircut, 10, 20, 30, 50% of your account disappeared to fund the bailout because Greece needed to be bailed out. And what did you do to deserve getting your checking account or savings account taken by government? Nothing. It was not your fault as an individual citizen. And so what is Bitcoin? It is a reaction function. It is human ingenuity as an innovation and reaction to these insane, drastic measures by government to remind us that you don't own anything. And so we probably should own things. And how should you own it? Well, it's hard to carry around heavy gold when you have your suitcases and whatever. How about something digital that no one can touch, no one can seize, no one can freeze, no one can steal and censor your access to? And that's what Bitcoin is. And so that to me is what made me so bullish and with such a high level of conviction leave Wall Street in 2014, or traditional Wall Street, I should say, to go full force into the crypto industry and ecosystem. In 2014, in the spring of 2014, I started a crypto fund that actively managed a portfolio of digital currencies with different strategies, basically realizing that, this Bitcoin thing was about to be introduced to Wall Street and it was therefore going up. And so having a fund, having an institutional vehicle that allowed people to invest in so that they didn't have to do the complicated self-custody and purchase. And by the way, Coinbase, I think it was $5,000 or $25,000 daily limits or weekly limits that you could buy Bitcoin in. And Wall Street, wealthy, they are looking hundreds of thousands of dollars to put into this thing, or millions of dollars. And that was basically impossible in 2013, 2014, without an institutional vehicle like a hedge fund or investment manager to invest in. And so I started a crypto fund with some co-founders in New York in 2014 called Sater Square Partners. And we were one of the very first hedge funds on the planet that traded crypto. And that started my career trajectory into crypto and away from everything else. And it's been a roller coaster, man.
So like two things that I'm curious about right there, Jason, is, you personally knew instinctively that one of the most powerful things you can do, or the most powerful thing you can do with Bitcoin, is to control it yourself. So even though you were on an early form of Coinbase, you were pulling it off into self-custody, which seems remarkable that you were able to do that. But then you create a vehicle for others to invest in Bitcoin, but they're not. I mean, was that conscious? Was that simply, hey, I know these folks want to invest in this, and this is the only way how? Is it okay to have that personal and professional contradiction?
Yes, you're right. And it totally was a contradiction that I sort of corrected in my later stage in my career in crypto. I don't have any regrets, but these were busy, wealthy people in New York, mostly Wall Street. That was my network, who were like, I want some of this Bitcoin thing. Here's money. You know how to custody. You know how to buy. You know where the liquidity is. You know the strategies. You know how to get yield. You know how to do all these things. Here's a check. I'm an LP in your fund. I want to be long crypto. I want to be long the asset class, mostly Bitcoin. But there's other coins. We participated in the ETH ICO in 2014. XRP, Litecoin, for better or for worse. Why not get exposure to everything and throw against the wall, see what sticks, actively manage your risk, never keep anything on exchange. If there, we knew how to manage exchange blow up risk. For example, if you have cash in exchange, because what do to buy on exchanges around the world? You wire cash in dollars and euros in yen. And now you have cash, you have credit, basically your dollars sitting in their bank account so that you can buy. What happens if you think that exchange is about to blow up and the website's going to turn off? Well, do you press the withdraw cash button? No. You buy Bitcoin and send it out because that's instant, as opposed to withdrawing cash, which they can throttle the bank account censorship access to. So there was risk management involved, and you had to really be in the know to figure out how to deal with all these different scenarios in the earliest of days of institutional capital flowing into this space. So people wanted exposure. They didn't want to spend 2 months getting educated on self-custody and wallets and private key management. What happens if I die? And what about tax? What about estate? What about all the you want to avoid probate if you die? And how do you get your Bitcoin to your family? And that's what Meanwhile is. And we're going to get there. But back then it was, let's make the easiest thing for the world, which is you write a check and you get crypto and you don't have to worry about anything else.
So one thing you said that I thought was really interesting is that you liked that Bitcoin, and I think I'm remembering this correctly, reminded people that they didn't actually own anything. And I was struck by the word reminded because I'm not entirely sure that people actually are concerned by the fact that they don't own anything.
I think they have moments. They wake up in 2008, they see Greece.
Okay.
And then they get back to their life, and their life works in a certain way. Government works in a certain way. Banks work in a certain way. Opportunities come where you have to send someone else your money, whether it's a brokerage account or a private investment or whatever it might be. And you go back to that way of living. And then the trucker protests in Canada reminds you again of the need for self-custody in crypto, of the need for actually owning things. Because of censorship. Oh, yeah. And then what happens? Oh, a year later, not even you go back to the way things were, bank accounts, credit cards. I'm not an anarchist. I am a libertarian to a degree.
Sure.
But it's important that you have a well-diversified, well-rounded portfolio of your assets that include things you don't own, brokerage accounts, whatever, and things you do own, whether it's gold or Bitcoin and self-custody. And And then, things you don't own, Bitcoin in a fund, Bitcoin in life insurance, Bitcoin in wherever. Mix it all up because you have your rainy day slush fund and you have opportunities that are literally impossible to self-custody. So, it's hard to unless you're going off the grid, you're just going to self-custody, and that's a whole other story that we're probably not going to get into.
Do you think that, so Michael Saylor has said that 2025 to 2035 is like the Bitcoin gold rush. Do you think that more things are going to happen in the time span of 25 to 35 that's going to force people to see the fact that they don't own stuff? Like, I'm a little like Magic 8 Ball moment here, but like I feel like more events are happening around the world and even in the United States that are reminding us.
I think the worst case of inflation is US dollar inflation because it's the world's reserve currency, the greenback. And the flight to quality around the world out of crappy fiat currencies into the dollar, out of altcoins, we won't say the S word coin, into the dollar. I think that, dollar inflation is the worst case scenario that's going to remind people. Now, you can have peso inflation. You're used to it in Argentina. You can have yen deflation and just the in Japan, people with their demographics that are heading south and their currency and their whole economic system that's being strained, reminding people like, we got to exit the yen. What do we do? Where do we put money? And every other currency around the world. But if the dollar, because they go into the dollar, right, and Bitcoin and gold, if the dollar has bad inflation, like experiences real inflation, that, the price of eggs was 11 or whatever dollars for a dozen in the grocery store in the last couple of years. If it's $20 for a dozen eggs, then people are going to be reminded, oh my God, what is going on to my bank account? My wages aren't going up. The prices of things are going up, but my boss ain't giving me a raise commensurate with CPI or other inflation measures. And so if that happens, how do you exit the dollar system? And that is a scary thought experiment. And I don't think Michael Saylor is talking about dollar inflation necessarily, but I think that might be part of the worst case scenarios that could easily happen in the next 9 to 10 years. So Bitcoin is the exit, man.
It was really, really simple to call it emailing money.
Yeah, I loved that.
Because you're like, and when you were talking about that earlier, where you were able to see this is basically like emailing money around the world 24/7, 365 with a degree of liberty that we just haven't experienced. What in the world do you think is going on in terms of they have such a hard time understanding Bitcoin, a hard time trusting Bitcoin. How come the world hasn't had that aha moment that you had?
It's taken me a long time. It takes a lot of people a long time and devotion to learn, and the willingness to have an open mind and change your mind about basic economics, to ascribe value to something that no one knows who invented it. Nobody knows who controls it. No one controls it. There's no person, which is really good, behind it all, because there's no politics, there's no bias, there's no, all these things. And so you have to be okay with, we're all okay with email. Who invented email? Al Gore? I don't think so. Do you know? Do any of you know who invented email? Doesn't matter. We all use it. It changed our lives. Who cares who invented it? We all use it. It changed our lives. It's free. It's instant. It's 24/7. Who invented Bitcoin? We don't know. Who cares? It changes your lives if you can buy into that system. Now, how long did it take for people to, get into email? It's an apples and oranges thing to make that comparison to Bitcoin, because email is just like messages around the world, photos, videos, whatever. That's not high stakes, but money is high stakes. And for you to be okay with, I don't know who invented it, controls it, no central bank, no politics, it's a good thing, but it takes you a lot of time to realize that that's a good thing if you're actually willing to change your mind. Like I used to in 2014 when I was selling the crypto fund I was telling people this is your brain before you know Bitcoin. And this is your brain after it is morphing. You are expanding your ability to comprehend reality, to comprehend what is this world that we live in. You have to, when you read these papers and books or whatever you want to call them, to finally have that aha moment, something in your brain changes. And you're a little bit more enlightened on the path to waking up. And, it takes people time and devotion and the willingness to have an open mind to get to that moment where their brains go oh yeah, that makes sense. And I'm going to start using it because someone explained it in a way that makes sense for me. Someone explained it in a way that this is a solution to a real problem and I need it and I want it and it's going to help me and my family. Those things are what we're trying to permeate, consciousness around the world. I mean, why you guys have a podcast that helps beginners and anyone just understand Bitcoin for the first time. You're trying to say it in the right words with the right cadence at the right time, with the right level of engagement to get one by one person to be oh, I haven't heard it explained that way. This now makes sense. I woke up, So that's kind of how I think about it.
So tell us more about that mindset shift, right? What can a brand new Bitcoiner expect when their brain finally, it looks like your brain pops open and to the left is what I was seeing.
Yeah.
Like a popcorn crib, it busts out this side allegedly.
For sure.
That's what it looked like.
Yeah.
What's going to happen when that pops for them, or at least what popped for you?
You think about your dollars and where they are, your net worth, your salary, whether you have a family or not, whether you plan on having a family, your budget, what things are going to cost, how much money you need, and how do you get there? Where are you now? How do you get to where you need to be? Is it dollars in a checking account? Absolutely not. Is it dollars in a savings account? No. Is it dollars invested in the stock market? How much? What weights? What ratios? Fixed income? How? Bitcoin, gold, single name stocks, private credit. How do you make these investments to grow your net worth, to beat inflation, and then some, so that you can have a nest egg to support your life, your lifestyle, your family, your family's lifestyle. Kids are expensive. And so you have to figure out how to get there. BlackRock has said you should have 5% or so of your net worth in Bitcoin. Who else has said that? A lot of smart people are coming around to saying that. Is it Morgan Stanley that had the 2 to 5% recommendation, or Goldman, or they're all just coming around and realizing this is a no-brainer. It should be part of your portfolio. And then the question is, okay, I now believe I want to own some Bitcoin. How do you do it? Where do you do it? Is it in IBIT? Is it in ETFs? Is it spot Bitcoin? Once you buy it, what do you do with it? On exchange? Oh, we saw FTX, so probably not on exchange. But Coinbase, they're legit. Yeah, they're legit. 100% they're legit. They're public. They're scrutinized. They're regulated. They're licensed. They're audited. There's places you can put your Bitcoin that make it easy for you. There's places you could put your Bitcoin to prevent from the next, Canadian truckers, protests where they shut off access to your accounts, including potentially Coinbase. Who knows? I'm not saying that will happen. I don't think Coinbase would comply with that type of draconian, authoritarian overreach of a Western democratic government, especially with Trump, who's a pro-crypto president in power in that administration. But you then have to realize, okay, I decided to make the leap of faith to buy Bitcoin. And I am saying Bitcoin, not crypto, because I'm a maxi. I started my journey in Bitcoin. I diversified into every coin. Not every coin. There's millions of coins now. It's insane. But lots of coins. And then back into Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is the ultimate gold standard of crypto. And so I'm a huge self-custody proponent. However, I realized something that led me to get my own Meanwhile Bitcoin-denominated life insurance account in 2024 before I even joined this company. And that something was this. I was married. I am married. I have 2 young kids. If I get hit by a bus tomorrow with my Bitcoin in self-custody, what are the chances that my wife can access all of my crypto to fund her life and the kids' life? It's an expensive life, having 2 kids. And the answer was not 100%. And if that's the case, then it's on me as to be a responsible husband and father to make sure that the answer is 100%. That if I die, these little magic internet money things that are worth $93,000 a coin today all go to my wife, all go to my family. Because if I die with my Bitcoin or my Bitcoin dies with me, then this is a lot of money that can be life-changing, is life-changing, that disappears because of user error. And as we all probably know, an estimated 15 to 20% of all Bitcoin ever mined is permanently lost forever due to user error. Hard drives in 2009 and 10 that melted down and no one thought to try to get the private keys off of them. Satoshi's wallet, you name it. Lots of people lost lots of Bitcoin. And at the time in 2009 and 10, Bitcoin was 0 basically. And so it was like, oh, whatever. And now we know the stories in like the UK of that guy who tried to like go in the town dump to find his server, his computer from a decade ago. And just like it sucks. And I wouldn't want my wife to try to commission and pay people to try to find Jason's Bitcoin wallet, which she has no idea how to access or where or what. And so what's the answer to that? Well, Bitcoin life insurance is the answer to that, because I no longer need to create a piece of paper that's essentially a treasure map of locations of safes and safety deposit boxes, combinations and keys. In them, open it up like it's like a national treasure. It's like in that you now have a piece of paper. It's a treasure map, seed phrases, ledgers, private keys, passwords, Google authenticators, many new email addresses I've never used for anything other than crypto. Just the whole complex architecture of self-custody and how much we take for granted having a bank take care of all the custody for us, because it really is complicated where you don't want it to die with you. And I realized that Bitcoin and life insurance, all the beneficiaries of a life insurance policy, my wife, need to do if I get hit by a bus tomorrow is file a claim with an insurance company, the same way you would do with any insurance company. And what happens? She's going to get my Bitcoin, more Bitcoin than I left her, because in insurance and life insurance, you pay X amount in premium, your death benefit is a lot more than X. And with Meanwhile, everything's in Bitcoin. We are fully denominated in Bitcoin. So you pay 10 Bitcoin in premium for a 35-year-old healthy male. It pays out 18 in death benefit. That's an 80% return, or an 8 extra Bitcoin that I would leave to my family. And I die tomorrow, the full 18 pays out. All she has to do is contact Meanwhile, tragedy, and they'll handhold her with like a white glove concierge service through how to receive the full 18 Bitcoin, which, by the way, upon death, receives a new stepped up cost basis. And if she doesn't want Bitcoin and she says, listen, I don't want Bitcoin. Why? Because my husband was the Bitcoin guy. I don't understand this stuff. I'm in the podcast world. I'm in the media world. I wouldn't know what to do with Bitcoin. I need dollars. My kids' school costs dollars. Everything's dollars in Miami and in the US in 2026. I just need dollars. Well, Meanwhile, we'll help the beneficiary liquidate that Bitcoin into dollars. And remember, it gets a new stepped up cost basis. So there's no taxes, and you get all the dollars without a haircut or a dime not going to the beneficiary. And hopefully I live a long, healthy life. And that 18 Bitcoin, maybe it's $10 million a coin. Today it's not, but in the future, she'll get that $10 million coin cost basis. She'll get full 18 Bitcoin, because at Meanwhile, 1 Bitcoin equals 1 Bitcoin. The death benefit is not in dollars, it's in Bitcoin. Wherever Bitcoin is trading in dollar terms or euro terms or peso terms or yen terms, irrelevant to a Bitcoin denominated life insurance carrier like Meanwhile, that is on the Bitcoin standard, where 1 Bitcoin always equals 1 Bitcoin. And we don't care what the dollar price is, you're going to get Bitcoin. And if it's at $10 million, hallelujah. That's
is
Meanwhile in a
fascinating.
nutshell. It's really awesome. And this is like my whole career trajectory led me to getting my own policy. And then as soon as I had the opportunity, reaching out to them and saying, guys, you just created the single most incredible product I've ever seen in my 12 plus years in crypto. Like, we need to get the word out to the world. I got my own policy. I told my family, I told my friends about it. They all got policies. I sold your product for you before I even joined the company, because that's how groundbreaking this is. And it is the coolest thing you could do in Bitcoin to add to your diversified bucket of crypto.
So my grandfather sold life insurance in Eastern North Carolina in the 50s. And I saw that you all did life insurance in Meanwhile. And I was like, dude, life insurance in Bitcoin.
I never thought about that.
And then I scrolled down on your webpage a little bit and like got the sense that you all were like Bitcoin, like you said, denominated, like one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin, which is the bomb.
Yeah.
And also it kind of seemed, I got like a vague sense that if I got a life insurance policy with so much Bitcoin placed in, you guys do some juju to make it more Bitcoin by the time somebody needs it. So,
Oh yeah.
how,
I mean,
I guess
how
if
do
you're
we
a brand new
get yield?
Bitcoiner, Jason, and you just bought $50 worth of Bitcoin on Coinbase last night, and you're like, dude, what am I doing? Did I even do the right thing? I'm going to get on YouTube to try to learn some more. And they find your episode, taking them from, hey, great job, you stacked a couple of sats, to, dog, there's some wild stuff you can do with life insurance. How can you, like, how do you get that to them in a way that doesn't overwhelm that brand new Bitcoiner who's like, dude, I have like 60,000 Satoshis right now to my name. What are you talking about? 18 Bitcoin later on that's going to be 10 million. Like, how do we get that rolling for them?
I mean, asking for a friend.
Yeah.
Asking for a friend. Yeah, you two are going to realize the opportunity here at the end of this episode. Great question, and very important one, because the question is, once you buy Bitcoin, what do you do with it? Well, what you get with a Bitcoin-denominated life insurance policy at Meanwhile, and by the way, we're the only company that does this on the planet, is three things. And it's, by the way, basic traditional life insurance. It just happens to be the currency we use is Bitcoin, not dollars. And so what do you get with basic traditional life insurance? Well, you get yield. So with us, you get 2% per year Bitcoin denominated yield. That's how, in that example I gave earlier, 10 Bitcoin in premium for a 35-year-old pays 18 in death benefit. That's a 1.8x ratio on that person's age and health. You could apply that 1.8x to any amount of premium. One Bitcoin would be 1.8 Bitcoin, right? So you get yield, and I'll get into how we get yield in a minute. You get the ability to borrow from your policy tax-free, meaning you can borrow Bitcoin from your policy and sell it for cash, tax-free. Bitcoin goes to $1 million. Instead of selling Bitcoin at $1 million and paying a massive capital gains tax relative to whatever your cost basis is, you get a policy loan. All policy loans in whole life insurance are tax-free, no capital gains, no income tax. You can borrow, you get $1 million cost basis. Instead of you bought at $80,000, you hodl, it gets to $1 million, don't sell, borrow. You get new Bitcoin at a new stepped up cost basis. You sell that same price that same day, and you just sold Bitcoin at $1 million without paying a dime in taxes. I'll get into that in a little bit more detail as well. The last piece of life insurance is the fact that there's an inheritance component. You die, you leave people more Bitcoin than you had to begin with. So with traditional life insurance, it's dollars. You go to a life insurance carrier and you say, hey, I want a whole life insurance policy in my life. Let's say $1 million death benefit. They'll say, great. They'll crunch some numbers based on your age, your health, your sex, and they'll dictate to you an amount of premium that you have to pay every month or every year in dollars. And of course, there's baked in fees and expenses because they're telling you how much to pay. And those dollars go into, in whole life, not term, but whole life, a mutual fund, an investment account, a mix of equities and fixed income, and very conservative 4% guaranteed growth rate per year. And it grows tax-free. So you're getting 4% yield in dollars, and it grows tax-free, meaning in the future, maybe it's up 50% in like 2 decades, you can borrow out of that 50% appreciated portfolio without paying a dime in capital gains tax. Why? Because all life insurance, everything in life insurance is tax-free. The government created those incentives. They want everyone who can afford it to get life insurance. Why? Because it protects you, protects your family, creates less dependency on the government for welfare, for handouts. And so if you can afford it, they want you to buy it. And the way they incentivize you to buy it is everything's tax-free. Yield, growth, tax-free. Policy loans, tax-free. You die, you pass on assets to your family, dollars, tax-free. So you get these tax benefits if you can afford it, and that's the incentive mechanism. And so wouldn't it be great if you can apply those tax benefits to your Bitcoin? Well, that's exactly what we did. And meanwhile, so instead of asking, however, a life insurance carrier for coverage, the difference between us and all other traditional life insurance carriers is the fact that Bitcoin is our functional currency. And so because Bitcoin's a scarce asset with finite supply, you can't come to us and say, I want $1 million policy or a 10 Bitcoin death benefit policy and have us then crunch numbers based on your age, health, sex, and smoking status and tell you how much Bitcoin to pay in premium, because we don't know how much Bitcoin anyone has. It's a scarce asset. We can't say, oh, Anna Bevan, pay 7 Bitcoin in premium. You'll be like, what are you talking about? I only have 5 Bitcoin. So we flipped the whole script upside down. As a potential new policyholder, you come to Meanwhile, you sign up on our website, and you tell us how much Bitcoin you want to use as premium, how much Bitcoin that you know you have in custody or in ownership that you want to use as premium. And you say, hey, I have, again, I'll use the example just because it's easy round numbers. I have 10 Bitcoin. What do I get for it? Well, we will then crunch numbers based on that age, health, sex, smoking status. It is life insurance. There's actuarial and morbidity math associated with how long do we expect a 35-year-old to live. And we price it out and we say, oh, 35-year-old, 10 Bitcoin in premium, 18 in death benefit, 1.8x. I'm going to only do 5 actually. Same 1.8x, 9 or so in premium, in death benefit. And so because you're choosing your premium, there's no baked in fees and expenses. You choose how much premium you're going to pay. Our product is a 10 pay, meaning you're going to pay in equal annual installments for 10 years, and you're done for life. You're not paying monthly. You're choosing your premium. You are paying annually, once a year, for 10 years, regardless of the price of Bitcoin, because remember, 1 Bitcoin equals 1 Bitcoin. Whether Bitcoin goes to $1 million or $1,000 in the period of a decade, irrelevant. You're paying that 1 Bitcoin in. Your death benefit is always 18 Bitcoin, again, regardless of the price. That 18 Bitcoin is guaranteed and fixed from day one. You pay your first Bitcoin premium. Tragically, you die tomorrow. The full 18 pays out. Even though you've only paid 1, not 10, the full 18 pays out. And so this is how we've structured whole life in Bitcoin. And then what do you get for it? Well, you're going to get yield. How does 10 become 18? I'll tell you exactly how we get yield because it's really fascinating. We take no risk in the type of loan that we invented, we created, because we're solving a problem for the rest of the crypto world where dollars do matter. The dollar price of Bitcoin matters, cost basis matters. Because it doesn't matter for us, we realized miners, Bitcoin miners, or anyone with low cost basis Bitcoin. Well, if you have low cost basis Bitcoin, maybe you mined it at $100 or bought it at $100. You don't want to sell it today because you're going to pay a massive capital gains tax. And as a Bitcoin mining company, you are a business with revenue goals and P&L. And you have to, from a CFO and treasurer perspective, you have to manage your bottom line on an annual basis, on a quarterly or an annual basis. And so the question is, well, let me frame it a little bit more. You're mining Bitcoin, so that's your revenue. Every day you're getting Bitcoin into your wallets because you're a miner. But every month you have to pay electricity in dollars. You have to pay rent for where you house your ASICs in dollars. Payroll, buying new computers, whatever it might be in dollars. So you have a lot of dollar-based CapEx or OpEx, but Bitcoin-based revenue. So you have to go from Bitcoin to dollars. The easiest way to do that is selling Bitcoin. And so the question is, what Bitcoin are you going to sell if you have all these different Bitcoins and all these different vintage prices for 5 years or 10 years, however long you've been around? Are you going to sell your $100 Bitcoin today to fund your rent for next month? Definitely not. You'd rather sell Bitcoin that you mined yesterday or last week or last month closer to today's market price to minimize your tax liability. And so what do you do with all that $100, $1,000, $10,000, or $20,000 low-cost basis Bitcoin? Well, nothing, because you do not want to incur a taxable event, because that's going to eat into your bottom line. You are a business after all. And so that Bitcoin is sitting in wallets, collecting digital dust, until meanwhile rolled around, the Bitcoin life insurance company, with a very unique business model where everything's in Bitcoin. And the fact that our liabilities are so long dated. I mean, we have 20-year-olds with policies. They're not going to die for like 70 years. And so we're willing to take duration. We're seeking duration. We're willing to take long-term loans with the right counterparties that meet our very, very conservative risk parameters. And one such loan we're able to do, because with us, Bitcoin's Bitcoin. We don't care the dollar price. Give us your low-cost basis Bitcoin miner, and we'll give you back Bitcoin that assumes today's cost basis. We do it in the form of a 1-year repo, 1-year repurchase agreement, which means that it's a fixed income debt instrument where a miner will send us 100 low-cost basis Bitcoin that they were never going to do anything with. And we send them back 100 Bitcoin, but it assumes today's cost basis, which they can immediately sell for all their CapEx needs. They're freeing up their low-cost basis Bitcoin. We charge them 3.5% interest rate. So mechanically, they send us 100 Bitcoin. We send them back 96.5 because the 3.5% or 3.5 Bitcoin is paid up front. Now they have 96.5 Bitcoin that assumes today's cost basis. They sell it into cash. They pay rent, electricity, whatever they need. At the end of the year, they can repay that loan, the 96.5 Bitcoin, close it out, and they're going to get back their original Satoshis, their 96.5 low-cost basis Bitcoin, because this is tax deferral, not tax avoidance. Or better yet, just roll the loan to the next year, pay another 3.5% or another 3.5 Bitcoin. And what do we get out of it? And meanwhile, why are we doing this? Well, we're getting 3.5% yield in Bitcoin denominated terms, paid up front in a fully collateralized loan. So there's no counterparty or credit risk. Meaning if our counterparty, whether it's a miner or anyone with low cost basis Bitcoin, like a Bitcoin share class hedge fund or you name it, that is earning more than 3.5% on an annual basis because they're mining Bitcoin or they're trading and earning Bitcoin. If they go bankrupt or disappear, don't pay back the loan, or anything happens in that year, doesn't matter to us because we have all 100 Bitcoin of theirs. They only have 96.5 of ours. So there's no counterparty risk. There's no credit risk. We get 3.5% interest rate in Bitcoin denominated terms, of which we give 2% to all of our policyholders, and we keep that 1.5% spread for ourselves. So what we've just done is we've facilitated and solved a problem for miners or anyone with low-cost basis Bitcoin to free up that low-cost basis Bitcoin for the first time ever without incurring a taxable event. So we solve a problem for them.
That is insane.
That is insane. I don't even know where to go from here. This is just wild.
Well, we're going to go to the hummus and remind all of our satillionaires to buy the dip because that's where we got to go next. But halfway through, my brain was like almost thrown off of that. Like that was a tree swing that you know, as a kid, you're like barely hanging on because it's gotten so fast. But I was like, no, Stuart, clamp down on what Jason is saying. Like, don't. My brain was like, dude, this is insane. This is like they're doing insane stuff with Bitcoin. But then I'm like, no, challenge yourself. And ultimately, what I'm understanding, if I can try to play this back for the brand new Bitcoiner, Hank and Lorraine, don't forget about him.
Oh, yeah, Hank and Lorraine.
You, as a company, are able to go to an entity that has Bitcoin at a very low dollar cost basis. And miners are, you know, going to be probably the most plentiful version of that entity. Hey, Mr. Miner, I see you got 100 Bitcoin at $100 a pop. And if you were to do something with that today at $93,000, you would take a big old hit because, you know, Le Daddy Gouvernement's going to say, hey, are you working hard inside my arbitrarily drawn borders? You better give me some money or I'm going to use guns. You know what I mean? Okay, here you go. Sorry. I'm so sorry I've been productive inside your borders. Here's some freaking money for you to have. So instead of doing that, you're able to say, hey, look, I have some Bitcoin at today's prices because somehow you've set up your company, or Zach has set up the company.
Bitcoin. What the price is irrelevant to us because we're on the Bitcoin standard. That's why we're able to do this.
Like,
you care about cost basis, we don't.
Yeah. Like put simply, the company is organized in a way that recognizes Bitcoin as the standard. And so somehow you're free of all of that dollar cost chicanery. And when you exchange, you say, listen, here at Meanwhile, 1 Bitcoin is worth 1 Bitcoin, which is true.
Yep.
And my mom, Jason, finally got it. She's been watching our show for a year. And over the holiday break, Draco's episode where he was helping us to stop freaking out about the dip.
Yeah.
She was like, oh my gosh. She's like, I get it. 1 Bitcoin is worth 1 Bitcoin. I've been saying for a year, if you can get to the point where you finally realize 1 Bitcoin is worth 1 Bitcoin, you're gonna have that mind explosion that Jason talked about. That kernel pop.
Let me tell you something. Our company is structured, our life insurance carrier, and we're based in Bermuda like so many other insurance companies. We're structured as a holdco with an operating company under it. The holding company is where we raise our capital in dollars and we have Bitcoin, dollars and Bitcoin. Our operating company, there's no bank account. We don't need one. Everything's in Bitcoin. Your premiums in Bitcoin, your death benefits in Bitcoin, those policy loans are in Bitcoin. And if you go to our website and use meanwhile.bm and you scroll all the way to the bottom and you click on financials, you're going to see our external audited financials, which are a table of assets and liabilities with B's in front of each number, not dollar signs. Everything is in Bitcoin.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All right. So ultimately then you can say, hey, here's some Bitcoin in exchange for your Bitcoin. And since they're in the world of dollar cost basis, they can now operate in a way that's much better than trying to sell Bitcoin at that lower price. And then anyway, crazy.
So that's how we get yield. It's really amazing. Let me explain one last thing, which is the whole element of policy loans. How do you sell Bitcoin at $1 million a coin one day and pay 0 taxes? Well, the same way I said it earlier, where in traditional life insurance that a mutual fund is up 50%, you borrow money out. The money you're borrowing out, you never have to repay. And it's up 50%. You don't have to pay taxes on it again, because that's how life insurance is incentivized, no taxes. You borrow, let's say, $100,000 out of your policy if you're able to, if that's within the threshold of the borrow amount at that point in time in the future. You never have to repay it. It nets out of the death benefit. The death benefit was $1 million. You borrowed 100K. The new death benefit's 900K. You get to keep the dollar, 0 taxes, and you could use it for whatever you want. You never have to repay the loan. With Bitcoin life insurance, it's the same concept. Bitcoin goes to $1 million. You could always borrow in our policy up to 90% of the surrender value. It's basically like a 90% LTV loan. You log into your portal at meanwhile.bm to your account. You see your available loan amount at that point in time when Bitcoin's at $1 million. You say, oh, I have an 18 death benefit. I'm going to borrow 4 Bitcoin. Because you're not borrowing dollars, you're borrowing Bitcoin. So you're going to borrow 4 Bitcoin, and we're going to say, okay, where do you want the Bitcoin sent to? And you're going to give us a wallet address. We'll screen it, make sure it's not going to North Korea, and we'll send you 4 Bitcoin into that wallet. At that point, Meanwhile is largely finished. But you're saying, hey, I don't really want Bitcoin. I actually kind of want dollars. Well, you're going to take it to any exchange or a broker that you have a relationship with, and you're going to say, hey, guys, I got 4 Bitcoin I want to sell. And Bitcoin's at $1 million each. And they're going to say, great, except where the hell is this Bitcoin coming from and what's the cost basis for tax purposes? You're going to have a loan document from Meanwhile that says, oh, this comes from my regulated whole life insurance policy at Meanwhile, the Bermuda-based life insurance carrier. And it says right here, the cost basis is established on the day I originate the loan. While I might have bought Bitcoin at $50,000 a coin back in the day, I'm getting new different Bitcoin from the life insurance carrier at a new different stepped up cost basis of $1 million a coin. I got 4 new coins. You see right here, $4 million worth, sell at exactly $1 million. So your cost basis equals your sale price. Now you have $4 million to withdraw to your bank account. You never have to repay that loan, because just like the $1 million, 100,000 loan nets down to 900K, your 18 death benefit, you borrowed 4, it's now 14 Bitcoin. And more importantly, you're never at risk of a margin call. Why? Because you're borrowing Bitcoin against Bitcoin collateral. You're not borrowing dollars against Bitcoin where there's FX risk, where the price of Bitcoin could crash from $1 million to 200,000. You get liquidated. You get BlockFi'd. You get what Celsius. None of that. You're borrowing really from yourself or your loved ones. You're not borrowing from a life insurance or company or an exchange or a lending desk. And so you get to keep all $4 million bucks. You still have 14 in death benefit, which, mind you, is more than the 10 you had originally in premium. And you're never at risk of margin call. You use all $4 million to do whatever you want with. And that's life insurance on the Bitcoin standard.
Dude,
Wow.
I'm gonna get a life insurance policy. I'm gonna borrow Bitcoin against it. I'm gonna take the Bitcoin to Salt. I'm like, yo, Salt, can I get a loan against this? I'm gonna flip the whip the scoop. I'm gonna skirt. It's gonna be like a Russian Matryoshka doll of Bitcoin into fiat insanity. And like, you're not gonna see me. You can't touch me. I'm good.
Wow.
It's gonna be amazing. Number 161.
Wow.
I want to tell the audience something. I have goosebumps because I realized that I just blew your minds. You guys have just
Was
woken
it the
up
wows
to like
that
a
really
new,
got it?
I just like for whatever reason at this moment in time I'm getting a little goosebumpy because I see your reaction, and your reaction was exactly my reaction when I realized all this stuff, and I got my own policy, and then I joined the company because holy crap, this is unbelievable. You're telling me this is how it all works? I could sell Bitcoin, not pay taxes. I could leave Bitcoin to my family. They don't have to pay taxes, and I don't have to leave them a treasure map. I get yield. Like, why isn't everyone doing this? Oh, because you believe in self-custody. Well, put some of your Bitcoin in this. Get the yield. Get the ability to sell it to buy yourself a house one day. All of that. Like, give yourself that opportunity, the tax advantaged opportunity, which has a trade-off of no self-custody. But hey, we custody at Coinbase and Anchorage, the two best custodians on the planet, if you ask me, in terms of security, in terms of regulatory risk, in terms of licenses, in terms of just name brand recognition and how they operate. And you know, you're going to have the best custody for free. We pay your custody costs. So there's really no cost for you at all to have a policy. You're just paying your own premium, which you choose how much premium you feel like paying. And you pay it over 10 years and you get all these benefits. It's ridiculous.
Crazy.
That's wild.
All right. Let's
Ooh, we need some
place some
calories after
calories
that.
into our
Yeah,
system to
for
recover
sure.
from that. That was a mind
Kernel popping.
exercise, right? That was a mental exercise, you know. That took effort, right? And for all the satillionaires who listened along and who were like, no, I'm going to try to understand this. This is the moment where you
Have earned your Ithaca hummus.
would, in fact, exactly. So get your tubs out. All right, we're gonna turn it over to Ithaca.
Our Buy the Dip moment sponsor, Ithaca Hummus, which reminds us to
Buy the dip. Now this, I'm on record with the lemon beet as desiring it at room temperature, correct?
Yes.
I feel like I've said previously that when it's like it's not fridge. I don't like the fridge cold lemon beet,
No.
right?
No, why would you?
But I don't know. Yeah. So we're gonna see if it's had time to warm up while we were.
Getting our minds blown.
I mean, Jason has been on fire for like 53 minutes, so I think even through my little laptop, he's managed to warm this up for us here.
So we're tasting the lemon beet, Jason. You can go to ithacahummus.com to find out where Ithaca Hummus is sold near you. Because if you haven't had it, you definitely should.
Yeah.
So we're gonna act-
Love hummus.
This
but
will
have you
be-
have you had the Ithaca?
I have not, and I am going to.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So we are going to act as your taste buds today in the studio. Cheers.
Verdict?
I'm tasting like a little bit of lemon today.
Yeah. It's very lemony, followed up by like a little earthy beet, not too grossly earthy.
See, I like the fact that beets taste like dirt
I don't.
and like raw beets. One time I blended up 3 raw beets
That's weird, dude.
and I just drank it. And it was like incredibly red teeth went red, everything. And like for 30 to 45 minutes, I thought I was on like drugs because I was like pumped up. I mean, like massive like raw beats to the face, super energizing.
Weird. I mean, I've done it in a salad with feta. All right, so this brings us to our part of the show where we would like to make you an offer.
Now, who is now? This moment is powered by which company, Abe's? First ever.
It is powered by Salt.
Yeah, boy.
Oh, this is such a big moment.
Let's go.
Our like choice $50 worth of $50 in Bitcoin. That's a little wordy. I got to get better at that. Powered by Salt.
Powered by Salt and number 123, Sean. Go back and watch his episode.
Yeah.
He'll tell you the story of his $627 million tile floor, which was devastation. But I'm telling you, man, once you're done working with Jason at Meanwhile to get yourself all set up, and I got to say, I love the life insurance conversation because, again, my grandfather, greatest life insurance salesman of all time. But he was doing it with that dirty old dollar, Jace. He didn't even get to have the benefit of Bitcoin. Wow, okay.
Right. Brings us back to our moment.
Yes.
Powered by Salt. In exchange for your time and coming on the show, as we believe in value for value, we would like to make you an offer. $50 in cash, USD, or $50 in Bitcoin, which at today's exchange rate is 53,518 Satoshis. What would you like, Jason?
I would have accepted $40 worth of Bitcoin.
So the Bitcoin?
I'll take the 53,518, please.
Let's absolutely, first of all, high five.
Love.
Yeah, maybe in season 3 of this show, we up the difficulty where it's like, do you want 50 in cash or 40 in Bitcoin? Like,
ooh.
We start, because look, you can see we've been absolutely murdering the US dollar over the past season and a half of this show. Mm-hmm. This is how many people have chosen the Satoshis. This is how many people took the cash.
Yeah.
Maybe we do need to make it harder.
Yeah, you should. You should definitely figure out an exchange like a 90% or 80% differential.
So, Jason, where do you want our Satillionaires to go to spend more time with you online?
2 places you could choose. Go to our website, meanwhile.bm. The BM is for Bermuda. We're a Bermuda life insurance company, like most insurance companies. Or just email me directly. I'll respond. Jason@meanwhile.bm.
Dude, now that is...
Wow, I love that.
I could never. That could never
Stuart
be me.
could never.
That could never be me.
Absolutely not. He's given out Sarah's email address constantly.
That feels super exposed to just be like, yeah, here's my email.
Yeah.
But that's because I prefer to isolate. So Jason is here and ready to help you out. Amazing.
Yeah, this is where we close down our first recorded episode of the new year.
Yes, grateful that our first guest of the new year chose the Satoshis and that he was such a crazy banger with the light. You can do incredible things with Bitcoin, okay? Yeah. Are you paying attention? We're like almost 100.
It's 2026. Life insurance has entered the Bitcoin room. You know this space is maturing. The adults are here. Like this is going up and to the right. This is what we're talking about. This is what we've been waiting for. This is what the world has been waiting for. And you just go on our website, sign up. You don't have to visit a doctor to get a physical or submit blood or urine. Everything's online. We live online. You just sign up, choose your premium. All you're doing is moving Bitcoin from wherever it is today to pay your premium into a new wallet we issue for you at Coinbase or Anchorage. And it's that simple. Just Bitcoin from wallet 1 to wallet 2 to pay your premium. That's it.
That's it.
Wow.
The grown-ups are here, boys.
Whew. Well, Satillionaires, if you too think that the grown-ups have entered the room, click subscribe at your chance to win 2 million sats when we get to 10,000 subscribers. Help us do that, please. We want to give away more sats.
Seriously.
Yes, and if you would like to find out more ways to support the show, join as a guest, which we talked about earlier as our New Year's resolution episode. We would like more of you from our audience to come and be our guest and tell us more about your stories. You can find out more about how to do that in our show notes. And Sat Chats is for educational purposes only and should not be construed as financial advice. And our guests' views are their own, and Jason's are pretty fire.
They were crazy.
So until next time, Cetillionaires, keep stacking them
Sats. Bye.